So very good morning to all of you. So let me take the attendance first. So we have with us Drishti Verma, Gautam Godra, Harshit Kumawat, Hemant Kumar, Matang Sharma, Parth Narendra Bhai,
Present, sir.
Prakash Chaudhary, Rahul Javaria,
Yes,
Rakesh
sir.
Raika, Ravi Raman, Rohan
Present,
Pinky,
sir.
Saurabh Dixit, Keith Thakkar,
Yes, sir.
Keith Fultaria.
Present,
Okay,
sir.
guys. So hope you have enjoyed your quiz also and your assignments also, and all of you have submitted. Any issues regarding assignments also, please tell me. Fine. Hope I have just now posted the scores. Hope you have received it. Just see it whether you have received it or not. Okay. See your scores, and your scores will soon be. There will be one Google sheet which I will be uploading along with your attendance also today. So that will soon be done. Okay. So any other issues, please tell me if you want to ask or if you want to raise anything. Fine. So today we will be starting our Sale of Goods Act. Okay. So let me just take you over to the Sale of Goods Act itself. So do you have these presentations uploaded on your system, on your this class material? Okay. So same presentation I am sharing it with you. Okay. So let me just take you up over here. So in last 20 classes we had 20 classes. So up to here we have already done. That is your contract act is complete. So now this class is actually understanding the sale of goods act. I will tell you. So both of these classes I will cover today itself. Okay, and then we will move towards the condition and the warranties. So please be careful because this is specifically related to your what you call is your there's a special contract sale of goods act. Am I audible properly? Am I audible, guys?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Okay. So let us proceed further. So here we go. Yeah. So this is about Sale of Goods Act, and as I have already told you before also that we have studied the Indian Contract Act 1872. Where does any one of you, if you can please tell me, where does this sales of goods come from? Any one of you? What is the origin of this Sales of Goods Act 1930? Anyone? Raise your hands, or otherwise, should I ask? Gautam Godra. Gautam Godra. Gautam Godra. Sorry, mark him absent today and post it on the group.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Laksharaj Singh. Laksharaj Singh. Laksharaj Singh. Sorry. No
Yes,
term.
sir. Okay, sir.
Ravi Raman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Where this Sale of Goods Act came from? What?
Sir, from business.
Sorry?
Sir, from business, sir.
From?
Business.
From business. Anyone
Yes,
else?
sir.
What is the origin of this Sale of Goods Act? Was it called Sale of Goods Act before also? Remember we studied about the construction of Indian Contract Act, and there are certain sections which are missing from Indian Contract Act. That is section 76 to 124. So these sections which are missing, that is section 76 to 124, have been severed off from the Indian Contract Act and has been put in a separate form, which is called Sales of Goods Act 1930. Okay. So before 1930, it was Indian Contract Act only. Okay. So the Sale of Goods Act 1930 is regarding. This is regarding the sales of goods. Actually, there are special contracts regarding sale of goods because these contracts were totally related to sales of goods. That's why this contract, this act was totally separated or severed off from the Indian Contract Act, which was actually a bulky contract, which was actually a bulky act at that time. So Sale of Goods Act, we will be studying about agreement, transfer of property, about goods, about price, and essentials of a valid contract has to be there in order to have a Sale of Goods Act. So agreement, in agreement, there will be two parties, buyer and a seller. Okay, and there will be transfer of property. Transfer of property means it's an immediate transfer, which is to be done at the time when it is to be done, and yet to be done means the transfer is means there is an agreement to sale. Okay, so goods are so there are three types of goods, you can say: existing goods, future goods, or contingent goods. Existing goods are those goods which are present at the time of making the contract. Future goods are those which will arise in the future, but the contract for the same is done well in advance. And next is contingent goods. Contingent goods are those goods which will arise on happening of certain event. They may be existing now, but the contract of transfer of such goods will happen only on happening of certain event. Okay, so that contingency is there. So that's why it is called contingent goods. Existing goods are specific, can be specific goods, can be ascertained goods, can be unascertained goods. So specific goods are those goods which have been taken off. Suppose, for example, there is a heap of wheat and there is a contract of sale of wheat is to be done. So at that time, if certain amounts, for example, the heap is of 100 kgs, and out of that heap of wheat, 2 kgs are to be given. So 2 kgs out of that heap is separated. So it will become a specific goods. Ascertained goods means this is the heap of the wheat. So it will be, so you will be given something out of it. So the goods are a certain quality is fixed, quantity is fixed, but the things have not been taken away or taken off. Unascertained goods are those which are neither specific nor ascertained, means you do not have any specificity, but the thing is that you have entered into a contract which is regarding the sale of certain goods which are not yet ascertained till date. So this is a complete overview about the Sale of Goods Act 1930, which will be, these all things will be covered in the Sale of Goods Act. So let us just go for an introduction. So Sale of Goods Act is one of the specific forms of the contract recognized and regulated by law in India. Sale is typically a bargain between a buyer and a seller. So what actually the sale is? Sale is a bargain between the buyer and the seller, and such bargain can be for the price and for the quantity of the goods to be sold, and also regarding the terms and conditions of the payments and all that. So this comprises of various things. So there are various features of Sale of Goods Act, and that's why there is a, you can say there has to be a separate contract, and that's why it is treated separately. So Sale of Goods Act 1930 allows the parties to modify the provisions of the law by express stipulations. However, in some places, this freedom is severely restricted. So there are certain stipulations which can be done for the modification of the provisions, but at some places it is not there. So you cannot modify the things as such. Okay. So next is the Sale of Goods Act 1930 is an act to define and amend the law relating to the sale of goods. It extends to whole India except the state of Jammu and Kashmir. It came to force. It came on force on 1st July 1930. So there can be a objective type question that when the Sale of Goods Act came into force. So it came into force from and on 1st July 1930. So before that it was not applicable, and after that on all the contract it is applicable. Okay, before that this was covered under the Indian Contract Act 1872. Okay, let us just see the definitions. So buyer and seller. Buyer means a person who buys or agrees to buy the goods. In the same way, seller means a person who sells or agrees to sell the goods. Now here, one thing is to be considered, that even if there is an agreement to sell the or agreement to purchase, it will be seller and buyer respectively. Means the people will be considered as seller and buyer respectively, even if they have not executed the agreement, but still they have already agreed to sell certain things in the future. So the two terms buyer and seller are complementary and represent the two parties to the contract of the sale of goods. Both the terms are, however, used in the sense wider than their common meaning. Why? What wider? A buyer means a person who buys and seller means a person who sells. But here the agreement to sale is also included. So not only a person who buys, but also one who agrees to buy, or not only a person who sells, but also a person who has agreed to sell will be considered as a buyer and seller respectively. Next definition is of goods. I think this definition is very clear about buyer and seller. So because buyer and seller are given under section 2(1) and 230. Okay, so buyer is first and seller comes afterwards, and then in between exactly in middle of these there is section 2(7). So I just remembered it like that in my days of learning, that section 2(1) is buyer, section 213 is seller, and exactly in middle is number 7. So 1 to 13, number 7 is in just in between. So 7 is goods. Okay, because there can be goods between buyer and seller. Okay, so goods means every kind of movable property other than actionable claim and money, and includes stocks, shares, growing crops, grass, and things attached to or forming a part of land which are agreed to be severed before sale or under the contract of sale. Now this is very, very important to understand this definition, and this is a wider definition than contained in the English law, which does not consider stock and shares as a goods. Okay, though it includes a ship, means actually shipment is not there in stocks and shares. That's why English law doesn't consider stocks and shares as goods, but Indian law considers stocks and shares as a goods. Okay, so let us just move further, because we have to go for a further elaboration of the definition of the words goods. So what are now actionable claims? So actionable claims which can be enforced only by an action or a suit, means a claim which can be enforced by action or a suit. If you will not take any action, it cannot be enforced. For example, there is a debt. So debt is not a movable property or goods. Even the fixed deposit receipts are considered as a goods under the section 176 of the Indian Contract Act, read with section 2(7) of the goods. So it has been decided in the previous case laws. Okay, so debt is something which can be enforced only by an action. So next is the classification of goods. We have already seen goods are of three types: existing, future, and contingent. And existing goods are of three types, that is specific, ascertained, and unascertained goods. So existing goods are such goods as are in existence at the time of the contract of sale, those owned or possessed by a seller at the time of contract of sale. So the things which are owned and possessed by a seller, that is, seller is having the ownership of it and it is having a possession of it, that is the existing goods. The existing goods may be of two kinds. That is, specific goods means goods identified and agreed upon at the time of contract of sale is made, and for example, this is any specified and finally decided goods like Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge, Whirlpool washing machine, 7 kg, etc. So whatsoever can be ascertained. Okay, so that can be, means this is actually a possession. The possession is with the seller. Seller is selling it. The dukanwala is having the possession of these two goods, and he shows you these goods before you sell it. So these are called specific goods. For example, A had 5 cars of different models. A agreed to sell his Fiat car to B, and B agreed to purchase the same car. In this case, the sale is of the specific goods as the car has been identified and agreed at the time of the contract of sale. So these will be called as a specific goods. So certain goods are those which are identified in accordance with the agreement after the contract of sale is made. Okay. So these are goods which are identified in accordance with the agreement of the contract of sale. So these are not specified before the agreement is there. But in case of existing goods, the goods are well specified that this is the goods and now we are entering into an agreement with regard to this. So this term is not defined in the act but has been judicially interpreted. So in actual practice, the term ascertain goods is used in the same sense as that of the specific goods. When from a lot out of a large quantity of unascertained goods, a number of quantity contracted for is identified, such identified goods are ascertained goods, as I have given you the example of the heap of wheat is there. So long heap of wheat is there, out of which 2 kgs are to be sold off. So those 2 kgs which are taken out of the heap is the ascertained goods. For example, a wholesaler of cotton has 100 bales in his godown. So he agrees to sell 50 bales and these 50 bales are selected and set aside. On selection, the goods become ascertained. In this case, the contract is for the sale of ascertained goods, as the cotton bales to be sold are identified and agreed after formation of the contract. It may be noted that before ascertainment of the goods, the contract was for the sale of unascertained goods. So before the contract has happened, the goods were not ascertained. So even there was a contract that we are going to sale and purchase 50 bales of cotton, but these 50 bales were not taken out of the 100 bales. Okay, so at that time the goods were unascertained, but as soon as now goods are taken out of the 100 bales, the 50 bales have been ascertained. Now these 50 bales are existing goods or ascertained goods, you can say. Okay. Unascertained goods are those which are not specifically identified or ascertained at the time of making the contract. They are indicated or defined only by description or by a sample. Okay. So, example, if A agrees to sell B 1 packet of salt out of the lot of 100 packets lying in his shop. So, it is a sale of unascertained goods because it is not known which packet is to be delivered. So, as soon as a particular packet is separate from the lot, it becomes ascertained or it becomes the specific ones. Okay. Further, future goods. So, future goods means the goods to be manufactured or produced or acquired, to be acquired, okay, by the seller after making the contract of sale. Okay, sometimes we go to a fabricator that I just want to prepare one gate for my house which is under construction. So what is the gate is not yet in, because I have to give him the design, but there are certain, the agreement has happened. So he will prepare the gate and will deliver it to you. So the gate which is not in existence at the time of manufacturing, but it is to be manufactured or produced or to be acquired by the seller after the contract of sale is done. Then you give him advance, then he keeps on preparing, manufactures it or get it arranged from somewhere. So that is actually when you give advance, then only the things will come. Or you can say there is an agreement to sell in the case of future goods, and then the things comes in existence afterwards. That's why it is called future goods, because at the time of contract of sale, these were not in existence. So a contract for sale for future goods is always an agreement to sell. It is not an exact agreement, it is an agreement to sell. So it is never actual sale because man does not transfer what is not in existence. So you cannot just transfer the things at the time when the things are not in existence. Okay, so that's why it is called future goods. For example, 1000 quintals of potatoes to be grown on A's field and is not illegal, though the actual sale of future goods is not possible. This is an example of agreement to sell. I have already told you it is an agreement to sell. So 100 quintals of potatoes are to be grown on A's field. So whatever potatoes will be grown on A's field, and out of those 100 quintals is to be sold. So potatoes are not in existence now, but the person is going to sow the potato, and when the things will, all things will be okay, and if the rain and all things are okay, then only the potato will be grown, and out of those 100 quintals of potato will be will be given to A. So when the potato will come into existence, then it will be called unascertained. So future goods will become unascertained. Suppose he has grown 2000 quintals of potato and 1000 quintal are to be given. So 1000 quintals have not yet been separated from 2000 quintals. Okay, so the future goods will become unascertained goods, and then afterwards, after the future goods becomes unascertained, it will be ascertained and will become specific at the time of sale. Okay, so P agrees to sell Q all the milk that his cow may yield during the coming year. So this is a contract for sale of future goods. So future goods are there. Nobody has seen the future. So whenever the things will happen in the future, the things, but that's why it is an agreement to sell, not an actual sale. Example, T agrees to sell S all the oranges which will be produced in his garden in this year. So it's a contract of sale of future goods amounting to an agreement to sell. Okay, next is your contingent goods. So the acquisition of which by a seller depends on happening of certain of some uncertain contingency, or you can say uncertain event. These are called contingent goods. Okay, so contingent goods also operate as an agreement to sell because there is no existence of those goods and not a sale so far as the question of passing of property of the buyer is concerned. In other words, like the future goods, in the case of contingent goods also, the property does not pass to the buyer at the time of making the contract. For example, A agrees to sell to B a Picasso painting provided he is able to purchase it from the present owner. So this is a contract for a sale of contingent goods. For example, somebody has agreed to sell something to other person provided he takes it in the bidding. So bidding will happen, and if he is able to purchase that property in bidding, he will be able to sell it off to the person with whom he has entered into a contract. Okay, delivery. Delivery, its forms and its derivatives, you can say. Delivery means the voluntary transfer of possession from one person to another. That is called delivery, because until unless the goods are there, delivery cannot happen. So section 2.2 is related to delivery. So as a general rule, delivery of goods may be made by doing anything which has the effect of putting the goods in the possession of the buyer or any person authorized to hold them on his. Okay. Yes, any question? पुष्पेंद्र पाल सिंह. पुष्पेंद्र पाल सिंह, एक तो तुम लेट आते हो, ऊपर से डिस्टरबेंस और करते हो. Those who will be coming 10 minutes late from tomorrow will not be allowed in the class. I will just see the attendance. It is applicable to everyone now, whatsoever. People come late and create such type of disturbance in the class is not allowed. Pushpinder Pal Singh, are you there or not? Pushpinder Pal
Yes, sir,
Singh.
I'm there. I'm sorry, sir.
This should not be. You have done this before.
Yes,
also.
sir.
This should not be repeated again.
Sir, I'm sorry. It happened by. Sir.
Fine. Okay, so there are certain fine kinds of delivery which actually transfers the. I have already given you example when I was teaching you the contract act. For example, you have you had a selling agreement of a car. So how will you give the delivery? You give the car keys to other person to whom you have actually sold the car. So giving a car keys will be a form of a delivery only. Okay, so it should be treated in that way. So there are three types of delivery. Voluntary transfer of possession by one person to another is called delivery. So actual delivery, constructive delivery, and symbolic delivery. So there are three types of delivery. Okay. So now what is actual delivery, constructive delivery, and symbolic? When the goods are physically delivered to other person. For example, you are purchasing a mobile. Okay, and you deliver the other person money, or you just swipe your card and the mobile is delivered in your hand. So that is called actual delivery. Constructive delivery, when it is affected without any change in the custody or actual position of the thing, as the case of delivery or atonement, or you can say acknowledgement. That is where this happens in the warehouses. Okay, so in warehouses whatsoever goods are there, so it happens by just transferring of the property in the goods by endorsement. Okay, so on the papers the goods will remain with the other person, but the endorsement has already been given by the seller to the buyer. So it will be the in the position, though it may be in the position of the seller, but the endorsement has already been given to the buyer, so it will belong to the buyer. So where warehouseman holding the goods of A agrees to hold them on behalf of B at the A's request. So now there is a warehouse. Warehouse is having certain goods, okay, and A is the owner of those goods. Now A is paying the rent of the warehouse. Now what happens? A has transferred those goods to B. Okay, so on papers he will transfer the goods to B, and now warehouse person previously who was holding the goods on the behalf of A will now hold the goods on behalf of B. So there is a constructive delivery, you can say, has happened over here. Okay, so the position in such delivery may or may not change, but the delivery happens constructively by transferring the property in the goods. Next is your symbolic delivery, where there is a delivery of anything in token of a transfer of something else. Just now I gave you example of the car keys. Okay, so delivery of goods in course of a transit may be made by handing over the documents of the title of the goods to someone, like bill of lading, or you can say railway receipt, or the delivery orders, or a key of a warehouse containing the goods is handed over to the buyer. So in such a case, it is called symbolic delivery, that you have actually given the possession to someone else, or you have transferred the goods to someone else, or the delivery has happened in this way. Now you are the owner of the goods and you can do whatever you want to do with the goods. Okay, so this is about your symbolic delivery. So goods are said to be in a deliverable state when they are in such a condition that the buyer would under the contract be bound to take the delivery of the same. So at the time of the delivery of the goods must be in the form of, it must be in the deliverable state. Okay, so until and unless goods are in deliverable state, you cannot say it is the goods are ready to be delivered. Okay, so before we just go for delivery, so we have to ensure that the goods are in the state of delivery. For example, a contract to sell timber and make the bundles thereof, the goods will be in deliverable state after A has put the goods in such a condition. Okay, so next is your document of title of the goods. So document of title of the goods, it includes bill of lading, dock warrant, warehouse keeper certificate, wharfinger certificate, railway receipt, multimodal transport document, warrant or order of the delivery of the goods, and any other document used in the ordinary course of business as a proof of possession or control of goods, or authorizing or purporting to authorize either by endorsement or by delivery the possessor of the document to the transfer or receive the goods thereby represented. So now there is one assignment for you. Assignment is that you have to first write the difference between sale and agreement to sale of goods. Okay, sale and agreement to sale. This is number one which you have to do. Second thing, you have to just write in detail about bill of lading, dock warrant, warehouse keeper certificate, wharfinger certificate, railway receipt, multimodal transfer document, warrant or order of delivery of goods. Okay, so here up till here you have to just write in detail about this. You can get it from Google, but the point is that you must understand what these are. Actually, these are the title of the goods, or you can say documents which are having the title of the goods. Let me just give you an example of a bilty. Bilty is there with the truck people. So those who are having a copy of the bilties can be transferred from one person to another for just showing the bilty to the transporter and taking away the goods. So those who have shown the bilty and you have to give a copy of the bilty original in original, that is the third copy. Then you can take the possession of the goods from the transporters. So it is as good as that of the bill of lading. Lading means that you have actually loaded the goods on a vessel. Vessel can be either a truck or a ship or an aeroplane or whatever. Okay, yeah. Any question? Any question?
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Sorry, you were saying something.
Yeah, both
Yeah, Matan.
No,
is
sir, not.
till warrant or order of the delivery of goods we have to write now.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, sir.
Order of delivery of goods. Yeah. Any other document? What document? There can be other documents also, but this is sufficient. Why? Because I want you to understand what these are. Okay, so actually this is not a part of your syllabus also, but because this has come inside it, so you must understand this in a better way. Okay, that is the purpose of giving this assignment. Okay,
Okay.
otherwise you can just I can just conclude over here that any of these can be the document of title of goods, but at least you must understand what these are, because you are doing BBA, Bachelor of Business Administration. You must understand what these things are. Okay, and this will be helpful for you in future also. Okay, fine. So next is you can say this bill of lading, dock warrants, and warehouse certificate, wharfinger certificate, railway receipt. Okay, so an order of delivery of the goods. These all are the examples we have already discussed. The list is only inclusive and not exhaustive. I have already told you there can be any other document which has the above characteristic will also fall under the same category. Though a bill of lading is a document of title, a mate receipt is not. Okay, so it is regarded. So you have to write mate receipt also. What is a mate receipt along with the other things? Okay, so it is regarded at law as merely as an acknowledgement of the receipt of goods. Actually, mate receipt is that you have actually received it. Okay, the document of title is not the mate receipt. Okay, mate receipt is maybe a document of possession of the goods, but may not be a document of title of the goods. So a person can possess the goods even if he is not the owner of it. Okay, so like you can say a transporter. Transporter is not a owner, but he is actually a person who is holding the goods on behalf of someone. So mate receipt is one transporter may give the mate receipt to the other transporter, or you can on receipt of that goods that I have actually received it on your behalf or on the behalf of the buyer of the goods. So a document amounts to a document of title only when it shows an unconditional undertaking to deliver the goods to the holder of the document. So whosoever will hold the other part of document, it is written over there that it is an undertaking to just deliver the goods. Okay. So next is, however, there is a difference between a document showing title and document of title. Okay, so document of showing title may not be a document of title. For example, a share certificate is a document showing the title, but not a document of title. It merely shows that the person named in the share certificate is entitled to share represented by it, but it does not allow that person to transfer the share mentioned therein by mere endorsement on the back of the certificate. He cannot do it. Okay, so there is a difference. ये इतना important नहीं है, but you have to write about the document of title of the goods. Next definition is about the mercantile agent. So mercantile agent means an agent having in the customary course of business as such agent authority either to sell goods or to consign goods for the purpose of sale, or to buy goods or raise money on the security of the goods. We have already studied this mercantile agent in our in our contract act. Okay, so mercantile agent is an agent which acts on the behalf of the seller or purchaser. For example, auctioneer, factors, brokers. We have studied this. Okay. Next is the property. So property here means the ownership, the transfer of property. So actually transfer of ownership. Property is not a property like land and building and all that. So property here means the ownership of the goods or general property. In every contract of sale, the ownership of goods must be transferred by a seller to the buyer, or there should be an agreement by a seller to transfer the ownership to the buyer. So on one hand, in the former case, it will be an actual sale, and when there is an agreement to sell, then it will be an agreement to sell. Okay, so it means the general property, the right of the ownership of the goods, and not merely the special property. You cannot actually there has to be a transfer of the ownership, or property actually means the right of ownership of the goods. It is not just merely holding the property assets. So property in the goods means the general property, that is all ownership rights of the goods. Note that the general property in the goods is to be distinguished from the special property. Now what actually is a special property? It is quite possible that the general property in a thing may be in one person, and a special property of the same thing maybe in the another. For example, when an article is pledged, so a person who is pledging the article, the pledgee will be having the possession of the goods on the behalf of the pledger. So the general property over here is with the pledger, but the special property is with that person who is a pledgee and who will hold the property and is having a right to lien of that property if the pledgee will not give the payment. Okay, so we have studied this in our contract act, pledger and pledgee. So okay, so pledger will be having a special property, not the general property. General property still remains with the pledgee. So if the pledgee has made any default in payment of the money or any dues, then the pledger has to, pledger. If the pledgee has made any default, the pledger has to give a notice. Okay, then only the things will be released. Okay. So, for example, A who owns a certain goods pledges them to B. A has a general property of the goods, whereas B has a special property or interest in the goods to the extent of the amount of advance he has made. Okay. Next is the insolvent. Insolvent, you know very well, a person who is declared as an insolvent when he ceases to pay his debt in the ordinary course of business or cannot pay his debt as they become due when whether he has committed any act of insolvency or not. Price means the price consideration of the sale of goods, and quality of the includes the sale state or condition of the goods. Means at the time if the goods are subject to be packed, and if it is not packed properly, then also we can say that there is the quality of the goods are not proper. Okay, so the state or the condition of the goods at the time of sale also is also the quality of the goods. So these all are the definitions. Okay. So next is regarding sale and agreement to sale. This is also one of the you can say the assignment which you have to do. Okay. So let us just now discuss about. So this is regarding section number 4, sale and agreement to sale. A contract of sale of goods is a contract whereby a seller transfers or agrees to transfer the property in the goods to buyer for a price. Okay. So it is an actual sale. So there may be a contract of sale between one part owner and another. So a contract of sale, maybe it can be absolute or conditional, where the contract of sale of the property of the goods is transferred from the seller to buyer. The contract is called sale, but where the transfer of property in the goods is yet to take place in the future time. Okay, or it is contingent or on happening of certain conditions thereafter to be fulfilled. The contract is called agreement to sale. So in case of future goods and contingent goods, the contract cannot be contract of sale. It will always be an agreement to sale. So agreement to sale becomes a sale when the time lapses or the conditions are fulfilled subject to which the property in the goods is to be transferred. Okay, so suppose for example there is means a agreement to sale. For example, a person is yet to sell certain things at a certain specified period of time. So the time has passed, the property will automatically transfer because the advance of money has also been done well in advance. Okay, so if you have given the advance money and the certain time period has happened, so the property in that goods will be transferred, provided the goods exist at the time of such transfer, or goods exist at the time of such lapse of the time which is over. So an agreement to sale becomes a sale when the time lapses or the conditions are fulfilled subject to which the property in the goods is to be transferred. So following elements must coexist so as to constitute a contract of sale of goods under the on sale of goods act. So there must be at least two parties, that is seller and buyer. The subject matter of the contract must necessarily be goods covering only movable property. So only movable property means those property, even if it is on the land, suppose growing crops are there. So crops are grown and it is intended that it will be severed off, it will be taken away from the land and will be delivered. So it may either be existing goods owned or possessed by the seller or the future goods, but to be a movable property. Immovable property is not covered under Sale of Goods Act. So price in the money, so it has to be in kind. It cannot be in kind. It cannot be a barter. So if there will be a barter, it will not be a sale. Okay, so price in money should be paid or promised, but there is nothing to prevent the consideration for being partly in money and partly in kind can be there, but there has to be a proper written condition on it. Otherwise, by default, it is said that the sale happens only in cash, not in kind. Okay. So a transfer of property in goods from seller to buyer must take place. So there has to be a transfer of property. Means after the sale purchase, the transfer of property, and property means the general property, means the person who is holding that property, who is the owner of that goods, will be having all the rights, all the unconditional rights. So the contract of sale is made by an offer to buy or sell the goods for a price by one party and acceptance of such price by the another one. And a contract of sale may be absolute, it must be unconditional. Okay, all other essential elements of the valid contract must be present in the contract of sale. That is competency of party, legality of object, consideration. Okay, so these all must be there. So there is a distinction between sale and agreement to sale, which you have to write yourself, though it is given over here also. So I have written some points. If you want, you can take these points, but I want you to write it in your own language. Okay. So how the contract of sale is made, we will be discussing it tomorrow. Okay, and we will further do the analysis of this section number 5, and then we will come to the subject matter of sales that is existing. We have already discussed this in detail, but regarding the subject matter of the sale. Suppose what will happen if the goods are of perishing in nature, how the price will ascertain. These all are the things which are the part of your the first part, or you can say there's how the sale will be evaluated. Okay, so stipulation as to time. So these all we will be discussing. This is a very interesting thing. Okay, so this comes, and so we will be continuing with this tomorrow because the time is up. So tomorrow we will be starting from the this sale, and after this sale and agreement to sale. Okay, so we have enough discussion about sale and agreement to sale. That's why I have told you to write the distinction. Okay, so you can take this screenshot also if this helps you in writing certain things. Okay, and please write it in your own language. Put more and more examples because this will help you out in getting good marks. Okay, thank you all. So let me just take the attendance at the end of the class. Okay, so Chandresh Kumar Sigar, Drishti Verma, Harshit Kumawat, Hemant Kumar,
Present, sir.
Yeah, Karthik. Hemant, you just mute yourself. Karthik Rajput, Karthikeyan Sharma,
Yes,
Laksharaj Singh, Manan Goyal, Batang Sharma, Mukul Swami, Nandini Khandelwal, Parth Narendra Bhai, Prakash Chaudhary,
Yes, sir.
Puneet Yadav,
Yes, sir.
Bhupendra Pal Singh,
Yes, sir.
Rahul Jevatia,
Karthik
Rakesh
Rajput.
Raika,
Present, sir. Present, sir.
Raman, Rohan Modi, Rohan
Yes, sir.
Pingle, Shaurya Dikshit, and Tirthak Bhai.
Yes, sir.
Present, sir.
Yeah. So I have already posted. I think you have received your marks also regarding all the 4 quizzes. And yeah, please see your mails or see your you can say the quizzes part where you have received your marks. I have posted all. I will prepare one sheet also, and the same will be, you can say the same. I will showcase in your you can say what you call is means one Excel sheet on the Google Sheets will be shared with you along with the attendance and all everything. Okay.
Sir, but
So
where are the marks are seen, sir?
I will show you. Don't worry.
Okay, sir.
I have just posted it, so you will receive it. Don't worry. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So have a nice day to all of you. Take care. Bye bye.
You too, sir. Bye bye.